Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Scott Pinyard. I'm the head coach of This Naked Mind, and I'm here to talk about the conversation, right? The conversation that so many people dread having, which is when someone offers you a drink and you say no because you just quit. It is a highly emotional topic, and we have a lot of thoughts and conflicting feelings about it. And I want to go into all of that and give you some very clear tips for how to handle that. But first, I want to talk to you about the live alcohol experiment. So we are starting soon. It is right around the corner. On the 1st, our next live alcohol experiment begins. And the live alcohol experiment is a 30-day program where we give you lessons every single day about how alcohol affects you physically, how it affects you mentally and emotionally. It's where we take 30 days away from alcohol and see, does life actually get better or not? Right? There's no preconceived notions, by the way. Whatever you come up with as an answer is perfect. And so it's not a program where it's like, all right, now quit drinking forever. The whole idea of this is this 30-day time to just see, is life better or not? And not only do we give you those daily lessons, but we also have live daily coaching in the group where you can submit questions to our incredible coaches and they'll answer them in real time. It is a fantastic way to sort of put your alcohol consumption under the microscope and ask yourself the question, like, is this really working for me, right? Is there a better way to go? And again, I want to stress, there's no right answer to this. There is only the answer that you come up with. So if that sounds interesting to you, head on over to taelive.com. That's taelive.com. You can get signed up right there. If you're interested in doing it, I recommend doing it soon. The group is filling up. We're putting more and more people in there every day. So head on over to taelive.com and get signed up today. So, the conversation, right? How does this go? I call it the conversation. What I hear, let me tell you what I hear from people, and then I'll tell you how I went through it and how I see people successfully go through it. So the question generally goes something like this. Hey, Scott, I know I need to quit drinking, but I'm terrified of telling my husband or my wife or my friends or my parents or, the list goes on and on, coworkers. We have these preconceived notions that when we tell people, all right, you know what, I decided to quit drinking, that they're going to have these nasty ideas about us, right? They're going to have these ideas that we don't control ourselves, that we have some sort of problem, right? Maybe the dreaded A word, right? That we're an alcoholic and we'll get labeled with that. And that's totally understandable. I experienced the exact same thing when I went through this. So first, I want to talk about this idea that other people's reaction is their responsibility and not yours. Right? So if you approach this conversation and in telling people why you're doing what you're doing in a very particular way with the reasons that you want to approach it, with the way that you want to do it, you can give them the best story possible, but they're going to think whatever they think no matter what. And I want to tell you something. I bet I answer this question probably 10 times a week. And I always tell people, report back, right? It's like, go have the conversation, then come report back and tell us how it was. And I want to say 9.9 times out of 10, what I get was, oh, that was really easy and it wasn't really a big deal at all, right? It turns out that many times the people that we're hanging out with love us and they want us to be successful and they want us to be happy. And so this conversation generally goes very, very well. So how do you have the conversation, right? What do you actually say? And there's a few different ways that people like to approach it. Some people, if they're trying something like the live alcohol experiment, will say exactly what the experiment is. Oh, I'm just taking a break for a little while. That answer is really easy, right? Or maybe it's something like, alcohol wasn't serving me, so I'm just seeing what life is like without it. It's great. That invites a conversation. People might ask you questions about it. One of the things that's really difficult about this conversation, and the reason that we sense some tension, is that as drinkers, we tend to hang around with other people who drink. And so what happens is when we say we're quitting drinking, we're holding up a mirror to those friends of ours and our family who are also drinking a lot. And there's a very, very, very good chance that they've had the same thought, man, maybe I should dial it back a bit, but they haven't yet been able to get up the courage to actually make that change. And so by you doing that, it might pull some of those thoughts forward. So being able to answer it in terms of the benefits of you is massively helpful. So that's one area, is just say, like, I'm taking a break. Another way that I see people answer it is they answer it with a sort of temporary reason, right? So they might say something, maybe they're not sure about where they're going or what it's going to be. So they might say something like, I'm training for an event. I know that was one I went to. I was training for a Go Ruck event at the time that I quit. It was a great excuse, to not drink, right? It was a fantastic excuse to be able to say, okay, this is why I'm not drinking. I've heard people use that. I've heard people say they're trying to lose weight. I've heard people say they're on medication. There are all types of reasons why someone might not drink. And if you don't feel ready to have the conversation of why are you quitting, then that is a fantastic place to go. Another place that I see people be able to have answers is to just talk about very clearly that alcohol wasn't fitting into their life anymore, right? And I want to really kind of hone in on that sort of language and why that's important. Because if you approach this conversation and say, oh, I had a problem and I just couldn't stop, that's going to be something that's going to invite a lot of questions and might start some of those thoughts that you're afraid of happening in the other person's head. If instead you answer the question from a place of control, which you are in because you're actually quitting drinking, it's a completely different conversation, right? So you can look at some of the ones that I've used in the past. Alcohol just wasn't serving me anymore. Simple. Or say something along the lines of, I just found myself just not enjoying it anymore, and it just seemed like a waste of time. Also, very much about me, very much about control. So those sort of answers are often very, very good. And then the final group, and this is one that I default to a lot, was just humor. Right? Just having some sort of funny wisecrack to come back with. One of that I did once is I was talking to a friend of mine who's pretty overweight, and he asked me, he's like, dude, why are you not drinking a beer? And I just pointed at his stomach. Now, it's kind of rude. That's the relationship I have with this guy. That may or may not work for you. I am not suggesting it if you don't think it will. But he laughed, right? And he understood right away, and the conversation just kept going on. So those are a few ways that you can answer that. How do you, if you're not ready, how do you keep the conversation moving? One of my favorite tactics for that, and I used this a lot when I was first not drinking, was to give an answer and then to change the subject. And that sounds a little childish, but if you do it well, it really isn't. And people don't really notice. So let me give you an example of this. So, hey, Scott, are you not having a scotch tonight? Yeah, I'm just not feeling like it. I don't know. Scotch hasn't been doing it for me recently. Didn't you tell me that you were going on a trip soon? Something, right? If you're able to do that, that can be very, very helpful. So answer the question in the way that feels good, and then just move on with the conversation. It's that simple. And if you don't make a big deal out of it, there's a very good chance that they won't make a big deal out of it. Another way to have this conversation, again, to give whatever that answer is from those different categories I gave you. And another way to keep the conversation moving is just to give it with something that sounds final, right? And it's that it's not open for debate. So, hey, Scott, are you going to have a beer with us tonight? Yeah, I'm not really feeling it tonight. I'm not sure it's for me right now. Can't really argue with that. Right? It's a feeling that I have, and it's boom, here's where we are. So you kind of combine those two things and give them a statement or a joke, however you want to phrase it, and then just ask another question, do it casually. It is not an issue, guys. I got to tell you, it is very rarely an issue. So those are the ways that, we have the conversation, right, with our friends and family when we're around them and they're asking us and maybe pushing us to drink. Being able to give that answer that sounds like, nope, this is the decision I made, and then keep the conversation going is remarkably simple, and you will be amazed at how it works. So there you go. That's how to have the conversation. And I want to reiterate again, if you are dreading this conversation, but you're also curious, you're also like, how is this 30 days? And if you want a built-in excuse to say, hey, I'm not drinking tonight because I'm doing an experiment, head on over to taelive.com. That's TAE Live. That's for the live alcohol experiment. It's our 30-day experiment where we take a break from alcohol and see what happens. I would love to see you in there. We're just about to get started. Like I said, the program is filling up. So head on over there today and get signed up if you're interested. And good luck with your conversation.
Hi, I'm so excited, you guys, because we are just about to start another live alcohol experiment. And if you do not know about the alcohol experiment, you need to literally drop everything right now and go to thisnakedmind.com/LAE. That's LAE for live alcohol experiment. And here's the thing, this 30-day challenge is designed to interrupt your patterns and put you back in touch with the best version of you. You know, it's that version that's living the most joyful life, that version that doesn't need alcohol to relax or have a good time, and that version that's having more fun and is more peaceful than ever. Again, it's a 30-day challenge. It's live. It's starting on the 1st, so hurry up. Go to thisnakedmind.com/LAE. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, as it truly helps the message reach somebody who might need to hear it today.